Hello and welcome to another Nimble video tutorial. In this video tutorial, we're going to continue looking at the server authentication portion of my full stack implementation for the Nimble IDE. And I'm going to show you some of the cool enhancements I've added to the UI. Before we get into that, I want to pull up a couple of articles that may interest you. First article, why good design is important for writing great code. I can't stress this enough. Being able to be a software engineer and be a good designer is critical for writing a good source base. It's a nice read. I think it's published May 1st. And toward the end, they even give a quote from the late, great Steve Jobs. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. It's how it works. If you take anything away from this Nimble IDE platform, is my ability to make a piece of software work seamlessly and dynamically. I hope you see that. Another article that I happened to see was on the Lyft driver striking. It's amazing how you have two mobile applications that are kind of competing with each other and both have displeased the drivers. Maybe it's time for someone to create a new mobile app as a third option for the two. So today we're going to get into continue looking at my server implementation for Nimble. Specifically, we want to talk about the authentication. I could have easily used Google OpenAuth, brought the library in, hacked it into Nimble, and just kept moving. But I wanted to build an authentication framework of my own. So I built this full stack. I built an auth factory for the front end, and I also built an authentication module for the backend server. When I built these two, I worked on them at the same time. So I was literally coding with two windows and made sure I pretty much had a one-to-one comparison for any of the methods that were going to be working with each other. These are just sample modules that I'm using right now. Once the user's authenticated, this solid brick wall is your gateway. This is the way, this is the protecting library to the API interface. I wanted to make sure I had this in place, but I use separation to provide security to the server-to-server communications as well as any admin functionality. So even if someone were to hack their authentication, they still wouldn't be able to fully hack the server. They would just have free access to APIs. Server-to-server communication is the ability to keep the data synchronized across multiple nodes. Targeted around 2,000 nodes for this design, so I wanted to make sure things were light and fast. I haven't fully tested it at that frequency or that many copies, but that was the design spec that I was shooting for. That being said, let's get into some UI. This week I made a lot of enhancements to the UI, and I'll talk about a few of them quickly and maybe demo them later. I added hotkey support. One of the main factors that differentiate desktop applications from web applications is the fact that you don't really have access to the keyboard like you normally would. So when a dialog comes up, simply pressing escape will allow it to dismiss. If I hit escape again, it will ask to exit Nimble. I have the ability to, when the dialog comes with Alt F will display menus. All the menu systems pretty much work. I can of course escape Nimble with the escape key. And pretty much you do all the functionality or pre-prompt functionality with the keyboard. Dialogues have special keys that I've never shown or never debuted in any of my videos. The dialogues have a docking and ability to go full screen. These buttons at the top of the dialog are controlled in the styles property here. And clicking these buttons will enable and disable those buttons. Once the dialog is selected in focus, holding the shift key and using the arrow keys, arrow down will dock it to the bottom, up to the top, left to the left, and of course right to the right. Holding shift and alt will restore, maximize, and minimize, all with keyboard support. I just wanted to show you that because that was a pretty nice enhancement. You can add any keys on the fly as you build your application. Along with the topic of Lyft and Uber, I wanted to show you a quick map build component. This is a sample. I will build one for you right now. So if we take a blank dialog, and let's say we were going to build a map style Lyft application. I have leaflet.js as a component. We'll bring this component in, size it to the full screen, go to the properties, and we'll turn on docking so that all the sides will dock to the sides of the container. And specifically, when this component is added, you want to make sure that the map resizes. So it adds a event leaflet resize. So on the forms resize event, we can just call the leaflet resize to make sure that the map will resize when the dialog resizes. Let's build this guy. Start the build engine. The startup dialog, we're selecting all the dialogues we want in the project. The starting dialog is form 4. I didn't give it a name, and we'll build it. Once the application is complete, we can open up sample app 3 desktop HTML, and we have a leaflet, a working leaflet map application for Nimble. When we resize the dialog, you'll see the map automatically resizes to the new container size and refreshes the cells for the map. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on some of those special buttons that I just mentioned to you, and then we'll rebuild the project so you can see how they work. With the dialog selected, we look at the styles of the dialog. We'll turn on the docking buttons. So we have all the docking buttons enabled. Rebuild the project. And then when we refresh this app, we should see the new buttons on the dialog, which should be fully functional. So now we can dock this dialog by holding the shift key, right arrow, left arrow, up, down. We hold shift and alt, it'll resize. We can maximize. I'll enable the console log so that you can see. Nimble has absolutely no errors on the build. Just gives you the messages of what services you did not enable. The only, I guess, error or warning I have is that I use a deprecated synchronous function call to my server. That's a security call. That's not actually an error. That's on purpose. Last but not least, let me just give you a look at a full screen mode. We can take this application, form 4, make it full screen. When you do that, you lose the border edge. Pushes all the way to the outer end, and you just have a full screen map that you would probably use on any mobile device or however you want to use it. But it gives you the full ability to display and pop out your applications as an instance at any time. I haven't found an actual bug in Nimble in about 2 or 3 years. We can go to my home page. Let's pull up the unit test application. This version of Nimble is 3.2. In any Nimble app, by just looking at the app object, you can get all the information, the metadata about the build of the app. This was compiled in 2016, last compiled. The size of the application is roughly 92K, and it's a full test suite, or my sample test that I use to verify I haven't broken anything. Again, this is running on Nimble version 3.2. I'm currently working on 4.1. All the work that I'm doing for this IDE is using the 4.1 library. But clearly, stability, running 100% JavaScript without a single error is my goal, and having a design that's extendable and continue to push forward regardless of the hype and fads of frameworks. That's all I got today. Thank you for watching.